Welcome to RezoBiz, episode 15 of the People's Choice. This week we'll be revealing whether we're going to end up doing custom inlay or we're going to do something ordinary like the white dots, whether we're going to have wooden sound rings with a wooden screen behind it or just the wooden sound ring by itself. We're going to work on a back, put the back together, and then we have some other options that we're going to have to choose this week. So we got a cool episode waiting for us, so stay tuned. I'm Byrl with Byrl Guitars, and welcome to RezoBiz, where everything is greater with a resonator. All right, the People's Choice reveal. We had, the choices were on the fretboard. Are we going to do something more custom or something simple and just do a white dot? For sure, people wanted a custom. And so I will lay out for you some custom options, and we'll have to do some choosing on that. I think also the votes went towards doing diamonds of some sort, and that was mentioned a lot. So I'm going to give us some options in the diamond area. Then there was the question of kind of how we're going to do our sound rings. What we want to do there, and I give you options with sound hole. Wooden sound hole rings, and then having a screen on it or not having a screen. Here's something I did the other day is I put these together, which is possible, and then I turned them so that they had I'm trying to figure out how I did it. Kind of had an I don't know. There it is. I thought that was interesting. But for the reveal, just so you know, just a kind of a crosshatch. The worry was, I think, that these were too thin. I actually had ideas of putting something on the back to give it more rigidity. But overall, everybody voted just to have an open sound hole. So unless there is comments saying they would like something different, overwhelmingly, then I think this is the way we're going. I think later we might have to choose on what wood exactly. There was mention of ebony, and even I did this. I fell into thinking how this would look against the guitar, but I forget this is hardware, and we have a cover plate, we have a tailpiece, we have tuners to decide on, and you can't get wood in any of those things. So it might be that we ought to go with ebony if we're going to do we ought to do powder coated cover plates and hardware. Now that could change everything, so we might be voting on this again, because if you guys were thinking chrome, then you got to decide, do you want, because usually if you have a chrome cover plate, you should have a chrome sound hole. So that'll be coming up. We'll have to decide on all that too. All right, let's work on the back. Okay, now to, well, my least favorite part of this whole thing. It's not that bad, I guess. It's just, and this part I actually like, because now I'm using I'm trying to think of this one I would use though. One of my little block planes. And the kerfing is just a little high on this. Yeah, it's, but we gotta level this rim and get it ready for the back to go on. Soup. All right, so we got our rim leveled, and now I've put the back on here and got it just right in place, and I've marked where I need to trim the braces. And so what we're going to detail work on this back done so that it fits perfect in that thing. We can glue it on. Trimmed up, and should be, yep, you can kind of hear it clicking. So let's see how it did. Get this thing, do a little test fit here. It's always a good thing when you hear them kind of clicking in. It all looks tight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good. Alright, so I've got the everything marked out, everything fitting good. Just glue it on here. We now have the back on our guitar. And next week we'll have it trimmed. But it's just gonna have to do some drying before I'll mess with it anymore. So everybody was talking about diamonds, and I think everybody was interested in custom. So here is, I would say, custom over our normal, what we would do for dots. So what we have here is a diamond with nothing in it, and then you take one of these inserts in abalone. So you got the pearl and you put the abalone insert in it. And what I've done is taken out these centers and brought them down here to finish out in between the small spaces. And then I split this one at the 12th fret and kind of blew it apart. Put a white diamond here. So there's an option. Now generally, I think it is Dobro. Actual, I don't know where I got it, but there is also a marker that can go with that fret. Some people like that, some people don't. I actually have it on my Dobro like that. So there's the marker at that fret, but this isn't fancy. I think a lot of Dobros start here though. But my marker, I tried to figure out why I was even doing it, because somebody said something about not very many of them have that marker there. They start at the C position, but on my ruler it has a marking for where these position markers can go, and it does have that one. So I do that now and again, and that's an option too. And I almost thought it'd be cool to leave something out, so it's almost like it got started and there's a progression and it changes. And the Byrl logo. Now the Byrl logo, I'm working on something special. It will be maple, but I believe it's going to be abalone binding around the edge and abalone Byrl in the middle. And it will be it'll be something I do more of, but it'll be one of the first ones we get to do on a guitar. That will be an option also though, because it's not my choice, but I do have them being made because I'm going to use it on something. All right, so there's one of the choices. And then we could go a little more simple, and I'll lay it out, but we could do these small diamonds all the way down. I'll give you some other options, but it seemed like everybody wanted diamonds, so there's one of them. All right, yet again, another variation here. And of course I've just laid them on there, so they're not perfect, but we could do diamonds like that. Now these are just diamonds. There's a type that is Snowflake, and I'll show you that in a sec. Here's what I call these diamonds, but people call, I think I've heard it called Martin Snowflake, and we could do that too. And then there's still I don't think I have very many, so I'd have to order them, which wouldn't be a big deal. You know what? I was thinking last week I showed it, and now I don't see it. There is another style of snowflake that we could do. There it is, which is more what I call a snowflake. We could do those on there too, and I mean we could do those at the 12th fret and leave the. There's a lot of options. So I just need some feedback. Okay, this week it's time we have got to decide on binding now, and so I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 options. All right, take a look at this. This one was cut from this was quilted, and so you just have these random lines. It's similar to our flame maple, which on this one is kind of, I don't know if you can see. Yeah, you get the right angle, and I think you can see it. It really stands out. It's like a hologram. One angle shows it better. This is a little more uniform. This one's a little more random, and the lines are real fine and tight. I've used this once before. It's almost like this is the last bit, and it's just special. Now I'm looking at it and I realize here we only got enough maybe to bind the body. That might be a problem, because I think whatever we do on the body needs to be on the fretboard. Now notice this on the fretboard, or not the fretboard, but the body. All right, now go ahead and zoom out a little bit there. And what you do need to notice is there's not a lot of contrast, and what we can do is we can stain the edge of this just a little bit, darken it, and leave this alone. This will pop really good. Now here's another option. So that looks good against the fretboard. You think, oh wow, and that will look very good. But you got to keep in mind, that's backwards, I guess. You got to keep in mind how it's going to look going over the top of the guitar too. here's another option. This is Ebony. So now you lose your contrast a little bit with your fretboard, but the contrast against here is going to be awesome. And then we have, this is Tortoise binding. And I think I was using a little bit of this to show you some of this maybe last week for one of the episodes. But that could have a really nice look. And then it's got a little bit of that orange in it. And if we used it on the fretboard, it would still have, there would be a contrasting look to a certain degree to it. You can see I have to maybe find a piece that has a pretty good flame in it down the whole length of it, but you got that lighter color in it. So anyhow, and then the other thing that you need to keep in mind is, you know, if we bind this, we can use flame maple, we can use that quilted. If I have to see if I can find enough to do the fretboard, but if we put, so that's kind of how the neck will look when we bind that. But this is a bigger contrast if you like the contrast, which I feel everybody has, because that's what these lines in here have been giving us, the contrast in it. And so that's where we're at with that look. And then, so that's the Tortoise, and then here's against the head. And I really like wood, but that Tortoise has a nice look too. But there's some Ebony against the head, so you can kind of see what that's going to look like. So, and then one last one, and hasn't even put it in there because I'd be bummed if you chose it. And there's a white, you know, like Martin would do. But I would not put white on this guitar. Said and done, it would probably look pretty good, but it wouldn't be my go-to choice, that's for sure. So there, I give you subliminal messages. If overall you wanted white, but I'm trying to discourage you on it, but I did throw it out there for you. I think that's 5 bindings, although that quilted might be out. I have to look because I've got enough right there to do the body, but I may not for the neck. Although you could still we could do an Ebony binding on the neck, cover up the ends of the frets, and just go that route for the neck, and then put I'd probably come up with enough to be able to do the head if you wanted to use that quilted on the head. And then I got tons of flame maple for the binding if we wanted to go that route on the body and the fretboard. All right, we have choices to make, and there's your next one. All right, recap. Today we have the fretboard, and we have to decide on those, whether we put diamonds with the center inlays in them, or do you just want a simpler like snowflake type of diamond, or the third one would be the Martin style diamonds, or we could put snowflakes. So so we did go more custom, so we'll have to decide on what kind of those inlays. So you have one would be your fancy diamonds, the variation down there. 2 would be just the white diamonds. 3 would be your Martin style diamonds, and 4 would be snowflakes. All right, so that's your fretboard position marker patterns. Now we have a lot of options in binding, and I actually found something extra. I forgot about walnut, and so I thought, we've got the body already clamped up, so I don't want to show you I can't show you the binding right now on the body, but that walnut against this looks really good. And so I thought, man, I better give that as an option. But you see how that looks there. And then how the wood would contrast well with the hackberry. Let's see. Here's this hammer that we finished, so it's got a little bit better color to it. But you can see that it matches pretty good. And so that's, you know, this is the colors that your body is going to be on that guitar, the sides and the back. So there's Walnut, there is Ebony against it. Here is your, let me get a piece loose. This is the, what is that? Tortoise. Which that looks pretty good too, I like that. And I'm showing it against this because that is what our body will be. There's the white, which I'll do it if you want it, but I don't like it. All right, and then that was that Quilted Maple one. And this is the Flame Maple. And so let me give you a sample against that head, because that that's the top of your guitar. That's kind of what that's gonna look like. And then of course these darken up when you finish them and everything, so they'll look a little different. Here's the Tortoise. And we are going to bound the head. And then the Ebony. And the white. Alright, so your choices are for this, the binding on the guitar, it will be what's on the fretboard. There's that walnut against the fretboard, which has a neat contrast to that chocolate color in there. So you're going to have walnut, you have ebony, you have the tortoise. So walnut, get this order right. Walnut, ebony, tortoise, flame maple, quilted maple, or white binding. There's a lot of choices. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 choices for binding, and that's we definitely got to decide on that. All right, I hope I showed you that well enough so that you can choose on that. So we need to choose the fretboard, we need to choose our binding. If you liked the video, subscribe if you haven't, and share it with a friend. And tune in next week, 6 o'clock on Saturday, and we'll have the reveal on what we decided for the binding. It's coming together. It's getting exciting.